Hey everyone, welcome to Get Good at Maths. In today's video I will be going through question 6 to 12 on the November 2022 Higher GCSE paper from Edexcel, and it's the non-calculator paper. Do check out the link above if you didn't see question 1 to 5, and we will make a start straight away. Rizwan writes down three numbers A, B and C. The ratio of A to B is 1 to 3 and B to C is 6 to 5. Find the ratio of A to B to C. Now if you look, we've combined two ratios to make a single ratio. The link is B, because it appears twice in both of our ratios. So I'm going to try to make B the same in both of our ratios. So I'm going to try to turn that 3 into a 6. So I'm going to times it by 2 and times it by 2. And the new and improved A to B is now 2 to 6. Because 6 appears in both of our ratios, 6 to 5 and 6 to 2, then I know 2 and 5 have to go together as well. So it's going to be 2 to 6 to 5, A to B to C. Express A as a fraction of the total of the three numbers A, B and C. So I know A is going to be 2, so 2 has to go on the top of my fraction bar, and then I'm going to add all of the parts, 2 plus 6 plus 5. So 2 on top, 5 plus 6 for 11, 11 plus 2 for 13. So 2/13 of the amount. Emma writes down three numbers, M, N and P. N equals 2M, P equals 5N. Find the ratio of M to P. So if I write the ratio of N to M, this says I have to have two lots of M just to make one lot of N. So that means M has to be half the amount of N. So that means N is 2 and M is 1. Similarly, if I have the ratio of P to N, this says I've got to have 5 lots of N's just to make one lot of P. So that means I know P has to be 5 times greater than N. Now, because if I look at my question, the N is eliminated from the ratio, I've got to do the same trick as I did last time. I've got to make N the same in both of our ratios like this. So I'm going to times this one by 2, and my new and improved P to N is now 10 to 2. 2 to 10 has to equal the same as 2 to 1. So that means P is going to be 10 and M is going to be 1. Just make sure you get the M on the left-hand side, so it's going to be 1 to 10. Number 7. A storage tank exerts a force of 10,000 newtons on the ground. So going down, we've got 10,000 newtons. Great. The base of the tank in contact with the ground is a 4 by 2 meter rectangle. Work out the pressure on the ground due to the tank. Now, pressure is a really interesting concept. It's given by this formula. It says pressure equals the force divided by the area that force is spread over. So to put it into context, if you patted yourself on the chest, it's not going to feel too bad. You won't feel it much. And that's because there's a greater surface area of your hand, which is a greater denominator. The greater the denominator, the less of the pressure. If you kind of reduce that to a poke with the same amount of force, then you're going to feel it a lot more, and that's because your fingers are tiny compared to the surface area of your hand, which results in a smaller denominator. The smaller the denominator, the greater the pressure. So if we put that formula into this context, 10,000 newtons is coming downwards, as we've said, and the area of the box in contact with the ground is going to be 4 times 2. So 4 times 2 equals 8 meters squared. So that means the pressure has to be 10,000 newtons divided by 8 meters squared, which gives you 2,250, and it's going to be newtons per meter squared. Number 8. Two numbers, M and N, are such that M is a multiple of 5 and N is an even number. The highest common factor of M and N is 7. Write down a possible value for M and a possible value for N. Now, the highest common factor means the greatest number that goes into both of them is the number 7. So let's write out values for M and values for N, and we'll see which one appears in the 7 times table first of all. So M is a multiple of 5, so I would say this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. N is an even number, that means it's in the 2 times tables, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Now you're scanning across and you're saying which number appears in the 7 times table first. So for M, it's going to be 35 because that's 5 times 7. And for n, it's got to be 14 because that's 7 times 2. Number 9. Complete the table of values for y equals 6x minus x cubed. And then once you've done that, you've just got to put it onto a graph. So before we start this, I think it's wise to have a look at what a cubic graph looks like. The reason I know it's a cubic is because the highest power of x you can see is a 3 there, so it's a cubic. They can take four different ways. If it's a positive cubic, so the 2 on the left, it can either look like an N shape like this, or it can look like an S shape like this. If it's a negative cubic, which is what we've actually got, it looks like a backwards N, so it goes like this, or it looks like an S going the other way like this. Right, so because these are the 2 negative ones, by the end it should look like one of those two. So backwards N or an S. So for this one, we're going to substitute 0, first of all, into our x values, and then we should get a value for y. So 6 times 0 gives you 0, minus 0 cubed, which is also 0. 0 take away 0 for 0. The next one, we're going to substitute 1 into where the x is. So 6 lots of x, 6 lots of 1 is going to give you 6. Take away 1 is going to give you 5. So 1 cubed gives you 1, doesn't it? That's going to give you 5. Now, going the other way, it's a little bit trickier. We're going to substitute minus 1 in. So 6 times minus 1, and then we're going to take away minus 1 cubed, like this. 6 times minus 1 gives you minus 6. Take away. Now, minus 1 cubed is actually negative 1, because it goes minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1. Minus 1 times minus 1 gives you plus 1. Plus 1 times minus 1, it gives you minus 1. So it's actually going to be take away negative 1 like this. If you have 2 negatives in a row, you've just got to make sure you actually add them. So it's minus 6 plus 1, which is going to give you minus 5. And then similarly for the last one, we're going to substitute minus 2 into the x value. So it's going to be 6 times minus 2, take away minus 2 cubed. 6 times minus 2 gives you minus 12. Take away minus 2 cubed is minus 8. Minus 12, take away minus 8 means plus 8. Minus 12 plus 8 gives you minus 4. So we'll start at 0, 0. This means go along 0 first of all and then up 0. So that's the origin there. The next one is 1, 5. So along to 1 and then up to 5, which will be here. 2, 4, along to up to 4. And 3 minus 9, along to 3 and down to minus 9. Going the other way, along to minus 1 and down to minus 5, which will be here. Along to minus 2 and down to minus 4. And then along to minus 3 and up to 9. So it should go like this. And you can see it looks like this graph that we looked at just a minute ago. So there's our backwards N shape. And you don't use a ruler, you've just got to make sure you connect them up with one straight line like this. Like that. Number 10. Lena spins a biased 5-sided spinner 40 times. Here are her results. So she got a number 1 6 times, 2 8 times, 3 9, 4 7, 5 10. Lena is now going to spin the spinner another 2 times. Work out an estimate for the probability that she gets a score of 5 both times. So the probability of getting a 5 and then another 5, so we use this upside down U shape for and then an or is like with a U shape like this, and we just got to make sure we multiply the 2 probabilities together. So she scored 5 10 out of the 40 times, and then we're going to times it by another 10 out of 40. So that's the first one, that's the second one. Now I would probably want to simplify these down first, so I would say this is a quarter times a quarter, or a quarter squared, and that's going to be 1 over 16. 1 times 1 for 1, 4 times 4 for 16. Derek is going to spin the spinner a large number of times. Work out an estimate for the percentage of times that Derek can expect a score of 1. So the probability of scoring a 1 is 6 out of 40 spins. So 6 out of 40. And to get it into a percentage, you've got to get it out of 100. So whatever out of 100 is the percentage. Now 40 doesn't go into 100 very well. So I would do a little stopgap first of all, And if I get it out of 20 first, because I know 20 goes into 100 and 20 goes into 40. So if you divide by 2 first of all, 40 divided by 2 for 20, 6 divided by 2 for 3, and then I can times by 5 to get it out of 100. 3 times 5 for 15. 15 out of 100 means 15%. Number 11. Describe fully the single transformation that maps shape P onto shape Q. So there are 4 different transformations for you to choose from. There's a translation, which means it's been moved up and down, left and right, about the place. There's a rotation, and the word's in its name, it's been rotated around a certain point. So if it's like lying on its side, for instance, you know it's probably been rotated. There's a reflection, which means it's the mirror image of it. So if it's upside down or folded in half, then it's probably been reflected. And then this one is an enlargement. If your shape gets bigger, then it's been enlarged by a number greater than 1. If it's been shrunk, then it's going to be a number less than 1. So 2/3, a third, something like that. So out of the 4 transformations, I know it's got to be an enlargement because P has gotten smaller when it becomes Q. So I'm going to write to the examiner, enlarge shape P. I've got to know the scale factor. Is it half the size, 2/5 of the size, a third of the size? So you're going to have to do some counting. And if you take the same side, i.e. this one and this one, if you do some counting, 1, 2, 3, and 1. Now this means it's got 3 times smaller. So we're not going to say by a scale factor of 3, quite the opposite, it's going to be a third. So it's a third of the size. So enlarge shape P by a scale factor of, now it's a third, so I'm going to write 1/3. I've got to know where it's getting enlarged from, because it's changed direction. So the way to do this is you've got to get your ruler out and connect 2 corners together. So if you go for this top corner here, and then draw a straight line, and then you take another corner, and you connect it with a ruler, and you join them up together with a straight line. They should go through 1 coordinate, and I think they've gone through this coordinate here. So it's going to be 0, 2, and that's what we call the center of enlargement. Enlarge shape by the scale factor of a third at the center, and it's 0, 2. Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Join me in the next couple of days and we will go through the next 5 or 6 questions. We're over halfway through now. They do get really, really tricky from here on out. So yes, I will see you soon. Cheerio.